I have kept the record of the Salvari Imperial Senate for 19 years. I have logged declarations of annexation, letters of censure, 3 formal apologies from lesser species, and 1 vote of no consequence, so minor I nearly omitted it entirely before my superior reminded me that the Senate's dignity required every act be preserved. I logged them all. I logged them without comment. That is the job. I am logging this one with comment. Future archivists can decide what to do with it. The resolution was called the Commercial Suspension Instrument, Salvari Compact Provision 7 Theta. The chamber floor debate lasted 4 hours and 11 minutes. The first consul opened by reading the charges. Human commercial entities have been operating across 14 Salvari-adjacent transit corridors without proper licensing acknowledgement, without filing the required jurisdictional deference forms, and without, as the first consul put it, the basic institutional courtesy the compact has come to expect from junior entrants into the registered trade sphere. He paused after that phrase. He always paused after phrases he was pleased with. The vote was 340 in favor, 12 opposed, 9 abstentions. The 12 opposed were the same 12 senators who oppose everything involving humans. By now their position is reflexive rather than reasoned, and I note this not to favor either camp, but because it is relevant context that the 12 hold no committees and carry no weight. The 9 abstentions were trade-adjacent senators whose portfolios touched human commercial corridors, and who were, I suspect, running quiet arithmetic in the back of their minds while the first consul read his prepared remarks. I noted their faces. They were not the faces of men voting against. They were the faces of men who had seen a number they did not like, and were hoping nobody asked them to explain it. The resolution passed. I logged it. What the resolution stated, in formal language, was this: all human commercial operating licenses registered under Salvari Compact Authority were suspended pending a full compliance review. All human trade vessels operating under Salvari Trans endorsements were to be held pending reinspection, and the human mission on Salvari Prime was formally notified that its accreditation as a commercial observer entity was under review. The suspension was to take effect at the close of the session. The human delegation, which occupied a sealed observer gallery 2 tiers above the chamber floor, was present for the vote. I watched them. That is part of my job as well. I note the reactions of attending parties, because reactions are sometimes legally relevant, and because the Senate occasionally forgets that the people it acts upon are in the room. There were 4 of them in the gallery. The lead attaché, a compact woman of middle age named Sarah Toland, sat in the front row with her hands rested flat on the rail, watching the vote tally mount on the chamber display. Beside her sat a younger man I did not recognize, taking notes on a flat handpad. Behind them, 2 others I had seen at previous sessions. One I knew by sight as a logistics specialist of some kind, the other I had never placed. When the first consul announced the final count and the gavel fell, Sarah Toland turned to the man beside her and said something I could not hear from my desk. He glanced up from his handpad. She said it again. He looked at the tally board, then back at her, and he smiled. Not a tight, careful, diplomatic smile. A genuine one, the kind that carries some private joke inside it. He covered his mouth with his hand and looked down at the handpad, and I believe he was laughing. I noted this in the session log. Human delegation observed. No formal objection entered. Lead attaché in quiet consultation with aide at tally announcement. What I did not put in the session log, because it was not yet a legal fact, only a suspicion, was that the aide's expression was the expression of a man who had just been told the punchline to a joke he had already heard. The formal notification was transmitted to the human mission at 1800 hours Salvari Prime time, as required by protocol. Acknowledgement was received at 1803. 3 minutes. That is fast. Most missions take 12 to 24 hours because a response requires a senior officer to review the notification, draft a reply, and authorize transmission. 3 minutes means someone was already holding the reply. The acknowledgement read, in its entirety, received. Noted, Human Commerce Directorate will respond through registered channels within the standard review window. The standard review window, under Compact Protocol, is 30 days. The Senate did not hear from the Human Commerce Directorate for 11 days. What the Senate heard on day 4 was a request from the Venezuelan Merchant Cooperative, a mid-tier private trading consortium operating out of the Outer Reach, asking the Senate Commerce Secretariat to clarify whether the suspension instrument applied to human commercial entities operating under Venezuelan flags of convenience. This was a question that had not occurred to anyone during the 4-hour floor debate. The Secretariat referred it to the Legal Interpretations Office. The Legal Interpretations Office spent 2 days reviewing the suspension instrument's language and concluded that the instrument applied specifically to licenses registered under Salvari Compact Authority. Human entities operating under third-party flags were outside its scope. The Secretariat transmitted this clarification on day 6. On day 7, the Secretariat received a second inquiry. This one came from the Outer Reach Ports Authority. They wanted to know whether the suspension instrument affected human transit vessels holding outer reach berthing rights rather than Salvari endorsements. The Legal Interpretations Office spent another day on this one and reached the same conclusion. Outer reach berthing rights were not Salvari Compact endorsements. The instrument did not apply. I watched the Commerce Secretariat from my adjacent office during those 11 days. I have known its senior clerk for 14 years. On day 8, she came and sat across from me during the midday pause and said nothing for a long while. And then she said, "We have been pulling the human licensing registry. Did you know there are 47 active Salvari registered human commercial licenses?" I said I had not known the specific number. She said, "There are 47. We suspended 47 licenses." She looked at the window. The human commercial census they filed in response, through registered channels, as they said they would, lists 9,214 active trade operations in or adjacent to the compact sphere of interest. I waited. 47 of them were ours, she said. The rest are registered under 12 different third-party frameworks. Outer Reach, Venezuelan, the Mirati Free Corridor, the Perimeter Exchange. Some of them I had never heard of. She was quiet for a moment. The 47 we suspended, most of them lapsed. The humans stopped renewing them 2 or 3 years ago. They were empty registrations, administrative placeholders. I said nothing. "We suspended placeholders," she said. The human response arrived on day 11. It was a formal document, 42 pages, titled Commerce Registry Disclosure, Salvari Compact Review Window Response. It was submitted through the Joint Commercial Treaty Office, which was the correct channel, which meant it was entered into the permanent record immediately upon receipt, which meant the Senate could not decline to receive it, which I suspect the humans knew before they chose that channel. I read all 42 pages. My job is to read everything. The document was, on its surface, a straightforward compliance submission. The Human Commerce Directorate had taken the compact suspension instrument as an opportunity to provide a full accounting of all human commercial activity in or near compact space, as a gesture of transparency and cooperative spirit. The document's language throughout was scrupulously polite. There was not a single sentence in it that could be called confrontational. What the document contained, laid out in precise columns across 42 pages, was the full architecture of a trade network the Senate had not known existed. 9,214 operations. 47 of them, Salvari registered, now suspended. The other 9,167 operating through frameworks the compact did not govern, had not drafted, and in most cases had not been invited to join. The document did not comment on this. It only listed. The humans had named each operation, its registered framework, its flag authority, its annual throughput figure, and its primary corridor. The columns were clean. The numbers added up. There is a summary page at the end that gave the total throughput figure in Salvari standard units, for convenience. The figure was large. Sarah Toland left Salvari Prime on day 14 with her full mission. No statement, no press engagement, no farewell session with the first consul, who had requested one. The mission's departure was logged as a routine rotation, which was technically accurate because the humans had filed a routine rotation notice 30 days prior, before the vote. They had filed it before the vote. I logged the departure. I logged the Commerce Registry disclosure. I logged the Legal Interpretations Office findings. I logged the Secretariat's internal query about lapsed licenses because my senior clerk submitted it as an official inquiry, and official inquiries go into the record. The Senate has not taken further action on the suspension instrument. The First Consul has not spoken about it publicly. There is a review underway, I am told, though I have not been asked to log its proceedings. I have been a clerk for 19 years. In that time, I have seen the Senate move mountains of bureaucratic stone to establish a point of principle. I have watched it spend 4 hours debating language that would, when enacted, change nothing. This is the first time I have watched it enact something that turned out to have already changed nothing years before the vote was held. I will file this record in the Standard Archive. I will note it accurately, without editorial. That is the job. The note I am adding, which future archivists can classify as they see fit, is this: Sarah Toland, before she left the gallery on the day of the vote, paused at the top of the exit stairs. I do not know if she looked back at the chamber. I was watching my own desk. But my colleague at the next station said she did, and that her expression was not triumphant, not contemptuous, not cold. He said she looked faintly amused, the way a person looks when something has gone exactly as expected.